Alright, before we get started with the world tour here, I just want to give you a big shout out to all of you guys that have been supporting this series. Not even just this series, the beginning of everything. You know, I've been doing YouTube longer before this series, but this series is the one that's actually been taken off. I just want to say thank you to all of you guys getting me to reach 1,000 subs. It's something I never thought about before. Some people know the story, but I really didn't even start YouTube to do YouTube. I was just uploading videos so that, you know, people that I was friends with would be able to see it because they were interested. And then all of a sudden now we're where we are now and people actually watch these videos. So yeah, I just want to thank all you guys for this continued support, and let's get on with the world tour here. Alright, so we have something very, very special today. We have the 18-month server tour that we really didn't plan to do, but you guys did vote for it in Discord. So we are actually going to do this today. Usually we would do it around 2 years, but you guys wanted to vote to do one every 6 months because my first world tour for this world was the 6-month world tour. And yeah, as you can tell, we have plenty of new members and they all have my skin because at the time we're recording, it's the day after April Fool's, so they wanted to get this done basically, and they kind of surprised me, but I didn't have that recorded. But yeah, so we're going to be going in to see some projects that we've completed after the 1-year tour. Now we're only going to be able to cover stuff that has been completed after that 1-year world tour. So if you do want to see anything else we don't cover in this world, I suggest you go back to that 1-year world tour video, which will be linked down in the description below. It'll be the first link up there. But yeah, so we'll go to some other things. The first thing here is the spawn perimeter, which has just recently been completed here. And yeah, so we had all 4 walls here. Originally only had one of the walls, I think it was this one over here, the north side, completed for the 1-year world tour. But yeah, so all this here definitely took a long time to do. Building map art vertically is definitely one of the most challenging things to do, especially with all these different types of blocks here. So yeah, while this isn't really the most useful thing in a quick glance, there's something in here besides just the decoration and everything like that. It is very, very useful for a server setting because of the lag that will be created here. So the perimeter is 366 by 366 blocks, and the walls go 128 tall. And some of you might recognize the floor here. It is my old heart profile picture that has basically been with me for a really, really long time, and something that I plan to take away, but my new double S, as I like to call it, definitely seems a little bit cleaner than, you know, because it's something special and that was custom made. But the heart will always be something that will be in this world no matter what. We're not going to rip this out and do something different with it. But yeah, so that's the whole spawn area, and we'll head on to the Nether Hub.
Okay, so this is the Nether Hub. This is something, for the most part, has stayed relatively the same since the 6-month world tour and the 1-month world tour. The only main thing that's changed would be the addition of the second floor. The second floor is something that was it was planned originally, but now it's kind of necessary. For each new project, we have to build a piston bolt, and it's constructed for fast travel between each locations. We use the piston bolts instead of ice paths, just because of the convenience and not really requiring holding down the W key all the way to the destination, and also just a lot cooler. Basically, the player just simply gets in the minecart, clicks the button. Depending how long the bolt is, the player can walk away from their PC and return while being at the destination. Yes, they do require a lot more effort, but yeah, they require a lot more effort and resources to make, but it's totally worth it for us.
So next we have the new concrete processing area and bulk storage here. So what we originally had here was something that I made up, and it wasn't very good because of the size of it, and it wasn't fully in the area around the portal here. So when an item goes to the portal here, an entity or a player, it loads a 3x3 chunk around it, area around it for entity processing. And for my old one, it was sort of out of it. I didn't plan it to fit correctly for this world. This one, we planned it out, and everything for here fits all in the entity processing area, which means we don't need a player here while we run the concrete maker to get all the concrete stored here. Up here we have Andrew's variable filter, I believe, and this is something that it makes the whole size even smaller than what it used to be. So now instead of having multiple lines to have the items move around, this one we have just the single strip of item sorters. And what's special about these is that after they stop receiving items, they basically reset the filter here, which is good, so that we don't have, you know, a whole bunch of filters for each different type of concrete. After we're done using it, we can then switch the colors of concrete to whatever we want, and then these filters will then adapt and then change the shulker box loaders themselves as well. And then those all make their way down to this slightly modified TIS bulk storage. Dazi adapted it a little bit to work with our use case in the Nether, because there usually was like water streams and stuff like that. So instead of having like a water stream for overflow, we just burn the rest of the excess blocks if we ever get that. So it's not really gonna ever get filled up. I can only see a couple colors getting filled up and maybe sand, but we use a lot of concrete and we really only use it to get the amount we need for the project before like doing any extra or stuff like that, just because it, you know, you can only prepare for so much, and having to change the colors all the time isn't really the best. Alright, so next we have the new improved XP for repairing stuff, because we all have mending on pretty much everything, and this is just one of the fastest ways that we can do it, because we have carpet or a carpet mod on the server. We have XP no cooldown enabled. This basically allows us to repair things faster than you could in vanilla, and this is just obviously very laggy. As you can see, I'm still loading the terrain here. It's because someone left the area when there was still a bunch of stuff here, so I probably will end up crashing and I'll have to log back in, but nope, I'm good. Alright, so as you see, the MS jumped drastically because I think someone left some stuff here. Yeah, you can see the XP's there, so you can actually go repair our things really quick. So even the XP left on the ground, I can already instantly repair pretty much everything. Even though it really wasn't broken that much, but I still went up some levels as well. But yes, this is the XP farm from Mechanist, and it's just, as you can tell by my frames with shaders, I'm getting 10 FPS, so it's not very good at all. But yeah, this perimeter is a full render distance perimeter of the server, which is 512 by 512 blocks. And the reason we did for a render distance perimeter is because if a player is in the center, which the perimeter is centered around, for the XP, the player loads nothing else in the area besides just the farm, which is really good for lag. Alright, so something you may have seen in the 1 year tour was this gold farm, or double gold perimeter that we had here. Now, a lot has changed in this area since that tour. So not much on the roof. Obviously, we originally planned to break the whole bedrock roof here, but with all the piston bolts that have been getting added, it's kind of impossible to do that, just because the bedrock breaker would have to go through the piston bolt, and having to take down a piston bolt and then redo it is a bit of a hassle. But yeah, starting off everything, you can see that we have the floor art and new walls, as well as the bedrock roof, which is now completely flossed. Now, you might wonder how we did that. I kind of made an adaptation of a tunnel bore by Comet 107, and normally tunnel bores, they go across. So say you start at the side over there, it'll go all the way across. This one I modified to go across, but up as well. So instead of the TNT being shot out in front of the bore, it gets shot above it, because we already had this area cleared out. So doing this, it's not 100% reliable. You can still see that there are decent amount of netherrack there, but it's definitely a huge change compared to the old where it used to look, because it was basically filled netherrack, because this was a whole this whole perimeter is basically a nether waste. There's nothing, no other biomes at all. It's completely just flat nether waste. But yeah, so another thing that has changed is the floor art here. We had this floor art custom made by an artist, and originally was going to get one for a piglin on the other side, but you know, getting 2 different character models pretty costly, so I went with one and kind of just mirrored it, which you can see here. If you look at the very center, it's basically an exact mirror on the other side, and I think it fits really well, especially on the map here once that loads in. Yeah, so that is for that. Now the walls originally here were the randomized concrete powder, so that was just the easiest way to do perimeter walls at the time when there was only a couple people on the server. And now that we have, you know, as you can tell by all the members that are here for this server tour, we have rapidly expanded our member base here, and we're always adding trials and stuff like that all the time to the server. But yeah, this used about like 20 some shulker boxes of gold blocks just for the bottom part of the fade here in the wall, and a little bit that was in the pillars here. Now, the pillars were actually designed by me, which is something that I never thought I would do, but they definitely fit the gold theme really well, especially with the gilded blackstone. Kind of gives like a little bit of sparkle effect. Over to the gold farm, which is the Y0 update suppressed portals. This was also here for the world tour, but nothing has changed for this. This just creates quite a bit of gold per hour for us. If you decraft the gold ingots that you do get from the farm, you get roughly around 1 million gold nuggets per hour, which is absolutely insane. Now, it could obviously be made faster because this mod does not run at mob cap, but it's really just made to have all these portals here linked to one center portal in the overworld. If you would go bigger than the 2x2 chunks that it is, then you would have some portal linking issues. And you have to go basically, instead of 1 portal, you have to go up to 4 portals you could do. But that would basically cover the whole, like the 4 corners of the perimeter, which is something we want to do. We want to keep it as close together as possible. And 1 million gold nuggets per hour is definitely suitable for our needs, besides using all of it for decoration, which we kind of run out of gold now and we don't have anything. So, but yeah, if you do want to see this farm run, I would suggest go seeing that tour, because we already showed it off. We're not going to show it off again, but the area around it has been updated, which is why we're showing this off now. On to the other side here. This is a double perimeter link, so it is 266 by 532. So the other side here we have Ashfest's very simple playerless piglin bartering area. So there are 24 piglins per cell, which are actually 20 piglins per cell. The reason why is because mainly for lag, and you can see that they all are on the twisted vines here. It's kind of hard to see because they are kind of all in the same area, but there is a twisted vine in there to keep them from entity cramming, and also just that very little thing saves a lot on performance for the server, which is really easy to do, but one of the most important things for servers. I always take into consideration lag when I design or use any farm when on the server, but yeah, very simple. It's not the fastest at all. We could definitely make a faster one, but I wanted to make it as lag friendly as possible. That way you can like run it in the background if needed, instead of having to, you know, have the server go to a halt when we want to just barter for some things. And yeah, the overworld side for this is stay the same. As you can see, there's another portal on top of the farm here. Basically, they their heads are in blocks here. So when they throw the items out, it goes up into the portal, goes into the overworld, and then we have a simple shulker box load-in system there to get all of the important things, like all the unstackables and pearls and stuff like that. We kind of just burn those. We really don't need them at all, so we only keep like the quartz, the blackstone, arrows, all those kind of useful things. I mean, but we mainly use this for quartz because it is sort of a renewable way to get for observers, comparators, things like that. Very, very useful for that. Alright, so next we have our furnace area. Now this isn't like one of the fastest furnaces in the world, but we have 1,728 furnaces in this area, and Floof is going to explain this area.
So this is our second manual dig done on the server. This was made directly after the Iron Circle one that was in the 1-year tour video. This array gets used a lot, but it is mainly used for the glass or parry floors, as a normal perimeter takes 65,000 blocks for one layer, so that's how much glass we need. This array can smelt 650,000 items per hour, and looking at the farm running, it is also very satisfying. It is one of the simplest arrays, as it uses instant unloading from burning the shulker boxes, which was a feature that was added in 1.17. The array is also fully chunk loaded via 6 chunk loaders when it is turned on. This is great for lag, so we do not need to have a player in the area. That is also the reason we made another shaped dig, as we did not need a full scale perimeter because of chunk loading ability of the array.
So we would run this farm if we had anything to smelt, but we currently already smelted like 2 million glass in preparation for new perimeter floors. But yeah, lots of stuff in this area. Mainly doesn't get, like I said, like Floof said, uses for like glass as the main thing, because it's really only needed in large quantities, which is the main reason why the array was sort of made. It's all spawn proofing. Now you can't really tell with my invisible glass texture pack, but if I take that off, you will see the floor here is a regular glass, which is just invisible. I did that so it looks very a little bit cleaner on for YouTube videos and stuff like that, instead of having the normal default glass texture here. And so that something is Optifine, I don't get connected glass texture. So if I just do, I thought if I just do this with the invisible glass instead of Optifine, this kind of makes it really, really easy to like see the floor decoration, which is what we usually try to do a lot, because that is what's mainly seen on the map. As you can see, if I open voxel map here, you can see the floor decoration. And if we use clear glass, the color does not get affected on the map. If you use any other color glass, like white, black, any of that kind of stuff, it kind of messes with the block color below it, because glass still affects map view, which is kind of weird, but you know, this is Minecraft for you. So on to the next one, we'll go to the Piston Factory version 1. This is my Piston Factory V1. Some of you may have seen this on my channel. We did decide to build this on the server as well, before or after uploading that video, and I thought it'd be pretty easy to make, but you can ask anybody that made it. Smoka, I think a couple other people were here making this as well. This was one of the most annoying things to do, mainly because all of the Fortic repeaters and things like that, and there is 40 crafters here, so it's not like it's the easiest thing to make, because it is 40 AutoCrafters. My old ones, this is actually my first AutoCrafter I ever made, was this piston one here. So as you can see, it's not the most optimized in any sort, but I did decide to make it a full factory because we use a lot of pistons on the server, mainly for bedrock break-in and world eaters and things like that. But yeah. This was the third dig that we did on the server here, and this one we did an octagon. As you can see, we've done like a lot of different shapes here. Smaller areas, because this is also chunk loadable with the portals up top. We don't need to dig a full area around it. That would be the best if you were, you know, in here with the player. The whole idea is that you put the items in, it gets distributed to all the crafters individually, and then you just leave once you start the crafter on, because then the chunk loaders will take care of everything here. So this one has a 4-wing layout. I have done a V2 and also soon to be a V3, which are a slim haul layout. This just makes it more practical to have a slim hall layout than the 4-wing, but it is a lot more harder to do some other things. The 4-wing layout makes it pretty easy to do some things, but not everything, like the slim hall does. But yeah, this is 40 individual crafters, like I said, and each crafter is 1,600 pistons per hour. So if you add it all together, you get 64,000 pistons per hour at max crafting speed. Yeah, and these all crafters are linked to the center here. You can see there's 4 different wings of lamps here, and if we go to a crafter, you'll see that there's a comparator, and then a redstone line that leads to a lamp, which corresponds to each crafter. This makes it for easy debugging if a crafter breaks, because this one wasn't really optimized to automatically shut off and things like that. So if you didn't put like the specific amount of materials there, say you wanted to craft, I don't know, 40 shulker boxes of pistons here, and to do that in the most optimal way, you would throw in 40 shulker boxes of redstone, 40 shulker boxes of iron ingots, and then 120 of spruce planks, and then 160 of cobblestone. That way they would all get split up evenly to all the crafters, but if you just threw stuff in a different amount, then you could have some crafters that have more items than some others to craft the full piston, and that could lead to failure. Or in this one, there was also a thing where, because there's 4 different inputs per each item, you could misinput an item or stuff like that into a wrong slot, and there's no detection for that, which in new ones I have done. But yeah, this full factory, when it's chunk loaded, is only about 5 ms on the server, which is really, really good for all the AutoCrafters, but it is pretty bad on your frames with all the light updates, because there is some redstone lamps in here. I didn't place any glowstone or stuff like any other light sources around the area to kind of decrease the light updates, but you live and you learn, and you always make adaptations for new things. So yeah, for this one, this was like my first ever iteration of doing something completely by myself, besides, you know, the shulker box loaders and chunk loaders. Everything else I pretty much made, which was a fun project to like make your own design and stuff like that. And even using it in a survival setting definitely made me learn some things and stuff for new ones that I make.
Okay, so this is the Shulker Factory hexagon dig. This was the 4th and second to last manual dig of the overworld on AutoCraft. And this dig, volume-wise, was even smaller than the Piston Factory dig. This was mainly due to the fact that almost everything could be crammed into a single chunk, or into a single chunk loader, which is a 3x3 chunk, or 48x48 blocks in size. We used cubic meters. So we used cubic meters, Crazy Azalea Farm, which is playerless. It is self-sufficient and will constantly make us logs, which can be auto-crafted into planks. Then we can auto-craft those planks in the chest. And the second thing we have on the top, these humongous portals, is is cubic meters Shulker Farm on top, which makes 2,500 Shulker shells an hour. And this gives us the final ingredient to craft the Shulker boxes. And the farm is also playerless. So this entire farm, everything you see is completely playerless, and we can run it. So we then take the shells from the farm and then automatically craft, I believe it's 1,100 Shulker boxes an hour. With this old functional Shulker box crafter that Squishy made, the speed of the Azalea farm limits of how fast we can actually craft Shulker boxes from the Shulker shells from the Shulker farm. But so far, it has produced us over 250,000 Shulker boxes, or 1/4 of a million Shulker boxes, which has been very, very useful for compacting farm outputs into Shulker boxes instead of just thousands of chests. We also have the fastest hopper speed, 1 wide Shulker box, and we have two of these over here where I'm standing. And then we can automatically dye 18,000 Shulker boxes an hour. And we could, of course, make more of them by just tiling it more, but it's not necessary with just the current output. And well, 18,000 shulker boxes an hour, dying is perfectly fine.
Alright, so next we have the AutoCrafting Hall, the triangle dig. This was our last overworld dig for the server at this point in time. This one was a bit bigger than the hexagon because 2 chunk loaders are needed, but everything can be loaded without a player again. So as you can see, we're going to take the easy way out of stuff if we don't need to make a full perimeter. We don't need to, but we can probably actually dig or make a full perimeter faster than we could do these digs. But these definitely do add something special to it, because we could have just made a square box perimeter like we always do for most things, but for things that don't require a full perimeter, I think it's still worth it to do a special shape dig, which just makes it, you know, a little bit more special than just having a square box. But yeah, this haul included all of my version 1 of my autocrafters. So that goes from pistons, observers, note blocks, droppers, dispensers, hoppers, composters, TNT, powered rails, repeaters, comparators, and even a full block, the fastest full block crafter. Some people may have picked up that autocrafting is something that I really enjoy doing, mainly because there was not very many redstone component autocrafters out there when I first started, which is why I made my own piston autocrafter one, which is also the reason why I do a lot of piston factories. It's kind of something special to me, and they do get used, like I said, for all bedrock break-in, so it is one of the most useful ones for us, which is why I kind of make constant upgrades and iterations to not only the crafters but also the factories, because very soon we plan to break a couple full bedrock roofs and floors for different perimeters and stuff like that, so we need a lot of them, and if we can craft them faster or more efficiently, then I'm all for spending the time to make it better. Mainly make autocrafters because crafting items in large quantities without the use of other mods like Tweakeroo, where you can do mass crafting and stuff like that. This takes that away from that, and it is probably really slower, or a little bit slower than manually crafting, because you can craft full stacks of materials at once with vanilla default crafting. So if we would go to here, we could do a full 64 stack in very quick succession, but we want to be lazy and make these crafters do it for us. So to me, it's not overpowered. It takes a lot of time to design a special autocrafter for each recipe, mainly because some of them have like dummy items like the dropper, the comparator, and I think the composter and the hopper all have dummy items. You need to like try to figure out how to take that item out first as priority, then you could take the crafted hopper out. It's a bit of a pain to do, but I really enjoy making my own ones, which is why I'm going to make a whole haul of all of my version 1 crafters. Personally, my version 2, these are all version 1. My version 2, which are being condensed down to 2 wide tileable ones, 1 wide tileable ones, all those kind of things, personally take around 2 hours on average to design. Just the crafter sequence alone. I don't usually add these input anymore because you don't really need to put them in all in a haul. But yeah, if you do want to see any of those, there is a full archive in my Discord that I keep continuously adding to today, and they do a lot. But when I first started, there was only a few with, I think the first one I saw was Z-Louch's Repeater Crafter, and I was looking for all over for a piston one because I was doing a lot of bedrock breaking at the time, and if I didn't have the bedrock break in there, the piston autocrafter probably would never have been started, and we would basically never have gotten into autocrafting, but I'm very happy that we did. I also do host a autocrafting challenge once a month, and that is something that is actually going on as I'm recording this right now. We did just start the new one, which is for tinted glass that was voted on by the people in the challenge, and that they are tasked with making a crafter that can do tinted glass. And tinted glass has very special properties because you need dummy items as well as you get 2 items per crafting operation, which makes it a little bit harder to deal with. Now obviously if there was more than 2, it makes it a bit more harder, but 2 items is pretty easy to deal with. You kind of just got to increase it, the bottom hopper unlock for roughly 8 game ticks, which isn't too bad at all. And the winner of each AutoCrafting challenge that I do gets a month of Discord Nitro gifted to them, which is something that some people like, some people don't like, but I can't really do too much with all of the different restrictions, stuff like the gift cards and stuff. If I could send a gift card, I would, but Discord Nitro is one of the easiest things for me to do. And obviously, if you join the Discord, you pretty much use Discord all the time. So kind of something that works very, very well there. Doing this challenge is very definitely good for practice and definitely has taught me a lot of things about redstone, especially with these autocrafters and the new ones of the 1Y tileable autocrafters, the 2Y tileable crafters, a lot of hopper minecart things I've learned a lot as well, and just various timing related things. It's always fun to kind of get used to that and always expanding your knowledge for these things.
So this is our 72,000 ice per hour ice farm perimeter, and this is yet another perimeter on the server. If you haven't noticed, we as a server really like to take into consideration lag efficiency. And since we are on a server and not a single player world, there's usually more than one person online at any given point. If something is really laggy and taking up most of the server, then it becomes almost unplayable for the other people on the server. Back to the ice perimeter though. This is Fallen Breath's 72,000 ice farm, where the ice is moved to the player, which stands and still mines 1 block per game tick, or 72,000 ice per hour. This farm was not only expensive, but to build it was also with light suppression itself. So to run this farm on a server setting, some light engines mods were required. Personally, we use Starlight and have not had any issues with it, other than not being able to do any light suppression farms on our server. This means we cannot make any EOL mob farms, but that doesn't matter too much for us due to the fact of how fast EOL farms are. The floor deco is Marshmallow, the ice monster from the Frozen Disney series, not sponsored by Disney. But the wall deck on the server was made by me, and it was my first main deco I did. So since we cannot light suppress on the server, well, when running the farm for long periods of time, snow layers will form on the floor of the deco. And since it starts to snow in the world, we're gonna have to launch these sweepers that you can see. So yeah, to make an alternate solution was basically World Eater sweepers, but without the actual World Eater part. Some people call it a snow layer, or some people call it as snow bony, like the Zimoni on ice hockey rinks, or some other creative names for it. These sweepers can be launched with the push of a button to clear the snow layers and re-reveal the floor deco. For the storage, Squishy made a storage that would allow whoever uses the farm to choose between what type of ice that they would like the output to be. Since we have auto-crafting enabled on the server, with the help of Carpet Mod, we can craft the ice into the selected variant. And these are just the simplest auto-crafters that you can use, since you just need to fill them up, just so you can fill up the entire crafting table with the same type of item, and just unlock the bottom hopper once the table is completely filled. Then we just cram the packed ice, non-packed ice, or blue ice into shulker boxes and then transport them into the storage.
Alright, next we have the main storage perimeter. This was something that was very, very long overdue, and some of you may have noticed that we didn't have a main storage until after the 1 year world tour. This is because I was lazy and didn't want to just copy someone else's storage entirely. So Dazi took the head of this one here and made our AutoCraft storage here. So like again, this is also another perimeter here, and the floor was a custom render that I had made for all of these server members at the time. So there was only 12 of us, and there was 12 people here. That's what the floor is, and it has the AutoCraft logo and everything like that. Unfortunately, some of it's covered up by the storage itself, but you can kind of make out what it says with the AutoCraft at the bottom, and then 12 of these server members, Minecraft skins with a block in their hand or something like that. So this is a huge step up from our old storage. We have basically storage for every item in the game here, and some of the areas that I have the black concrete here, we just haven't gotten the item yet because we're not really in a rush to get everything at the moment. And it has also some extra spaces for expandability. So there's 4 different wings in this storage hall or storage area. So here we have the first chest hall, which has which has storage space for 2 double chests per item type, and we can fit 8 items per slice here, and that goes for a bit of a ways there. And on the other side, we have the same thing here with a bunch of the other types of items that have multiple different variants, like wood, glass, all those kind of things have their own separate hall, all the dyes and banners, wool, stuff like that. You can see some things are being worked on still and being upgraded, but Dazi has been taking a lot of time and effort into this area, which is why we haven't released a schematic for it yet, because it's still constantly getting upgraded and stuff like that. But there is the layout that we used has been released, but just the storage itself, something that hasn't been released. Now, I won't go into very detail of everything because I'm not going to remember everything, but if you do want to see a full list and everything explaining, there is an actual video on the whole storage here, which then has a list of every single item or every single contraption that we used for the storage and links to their schematics, stuff like that. There's a whole list of that in the other video. So if you want to go see everything there, then you can go with that, but I'll basically be covering just the main talking points of the storage here. So yeah, the other wing we have here is the bulk wing, which has a capacity of about 1 million per slice here. So we can hold 1 million sticky pistons, 1 million pistons in just this little area here. And say, for example, if we have more than a certain item, we can empty the chest, and then the chest will get refilled from the top ones, which is really, really useful when getting large quantities of stuff for either decorations. We have concrete here, take all this stuff out, and then transport it over to the area we need it at. And yeah, there's still a lot of items here, and we still have a little bit of room for expandability. We can always make this longer if we need to, but we're then limited to the area that we have for the perimeter size. Looking back on this, probably shouldn't make this one a full render distance perimeter, but fortunately I wasn't thinking ahead of that time, so that would have been the best for lag, but that's not too big of an issue because no one's really here when it's running, and it's actually not too bad on the frames anyway, or on the server MS anyway. It's really only bad on the client. As you can see, even when recording, my frames are about 30 to 60, which isn't great, but it's still definitely playable. And then yeah, we have the other wing here, which is for the unstackable sorter, the multi-item sorter, which I actually don't really use besides for like mob heads, stuff like that. We have a restock station for things that we can use here, like totems, which Happy and a couple of server members use a lot because they like flying into walls. We also have a storage, or not, a small furnace array here, which is fully hopper locked and stuff like that, but really don't really use this too much besides we need to smelt like a couple of things. We don't want to go smelt it in a shulker box capacity, which the main furnace does. We also have an item shadow hall. If you have been watching closely at my hotbar, if I spam rockets, my hotbar stays filled, and that's the same for the pork chops. And this is one of the main reasons why we don't want to upgrade at all, because this also, if we upgrade to 118, this also gets rid of the item shadow feature, which is not ideal for us. We've gotten so used to just spamming rockets, not having to fill our hotbar, and it's very something that we've used quite a lot. So over here we have some of the other stuff. There's like shulker box combiners, ender pearl stasis chamber, which is also linked up to the item shadow area. So for us, I think we used to have an item here, which we would put in here, get that shadowed, and then you would bring that item over here. Dazi designed this. Dazi designed this pearl stasis chamber here. So if we were to put the item that we shadowed in here, and then we drop it in our inventory, that would de-link the shadowed item from anywhere in the world, and then you would just get teleported back to here, which is really, really useful for bringing over items to projects and stuff like that. And that's the main use case we get out of this. And of course, because Mojang is Mojang, this does not work cross dimension, so you have to be in the dimension when you drop that item, or you would not get teleported. The item would still de-link from the Shulker box, then you just wouldn't get teleported, which is not ideal. What used to be over here was a mass crafter that we had before, but it's since been upgraded to Andrew's new mass crafting area here, which is really, really nice because of the speed that you can craft things at. Now this does require, of course, another mod to use fast crafting, and it also does require us to turn off AutoCrafting table, because those two, unfortunately, when you use it, do still create a bit of lag, which just pretty much causes the server not to tick, and we don't want that, so we have to turn that off to use this. But it doesn't really get used too much because we would only really use it for pistons and stuff like that, but there are definitely other materials that we do craft in large quantities, like observers and things like that, where just a regular autocrafter would take just too slow. And we could eventually at some point make a full factory for everything with a bunch of different for autocrafters, like observers, stuff like that. That requires a lot of planning, all that kind of stuff, when that just takes a lot of time, which we could just use something else that's already kind of like universal in a sense for all that kind of other stuff. And back to the decoration, you might notice the walls here. These were also made by Happy once again. So these actually look really, really good even without shaders on. I currently don't have shaders on because kind of destroy my PC. Even though I have a 2070 Super and stuff like that, it's still not great to have shaders on in the storage area. But yeah, very, very simple theme here. Has the AutoCraft heart in there, which with the colors and the blackstone fits very, very well. Not only with the floor, but with the AutoCrafting theme entirely.
Okay, so this is our tree perimeter. It has, I believe, four different tree farms. This was actually a suggestion by somebody in the AutoCraft Discord to make a tree farm perimeter. So with all these perimeters, it allows us to do super cool decorations, like these walls and the tree, and this tree in the center that I built. This wasn't really fully planned out in creative mode before we started to work on it on the SMP, but it turned out a lot better than expected, and still one of my favorite perimeters. Besides that, only one of the tree farms didn't work properly and we had to rebuild it. But currently in this perimeter we have a birch tree farm, a nether tree farm, an ultra universal tree farm that works with dark oak, red mushrooms, and the fastest 12 game tick 2x2 tree farm that makes 4,632,000 logs an hour. We also have 4 individual towers of Dark's 27k bone meal an hour farms in this perimeter. So if all 4 are turned on, it makes 108,000 bone meal an hour, and the bone meal gets stored a little bit above the gigantic tree in the middle, again made by me. It's quite really a quality of life feature of the farms auto requesting the bone meal, and it auto gets sent. So if the tree farms do get low on bone meal, a wire will go back to the main storage and request the bone meal. Then it will be water streamed Then a couple shulker boxes filled with bone meal will be water streamed to that respective tree farm that just requested the bone meal. And 30 boxes to get dispensed at once. This basically allows us to keep the storage of each farm relatively small due to the fact that everything's connected. For the bulk and other farms that need it. All the logs that get produced to the farm get sent in the big tree near the bottom, which also acts as the nether portal and the centralized state storage for everything. Then we use a shulker box sorter to sort out all the different things that these farms make and put them into double chests that we can easily access. This is one of my favorite perimeters, and this had a lot of time put into it. Okay, so this is our creeper farm perimeter. This is something that we really didn't need just due to the fact that we already get a bunch of gunpowder off of the raid farm by the witches. But ideally we would like to have every single farm possible with the perimeter in this world. So this farm is by Karsbana, and you may have seen it on the Wavetech server. This is the exact same one that they use, and it uses TNT dupers, so no player looting, but still on a single mob cap. A single mob cap meaning that there only needs to be one player here to run it. With the single mob cap, it generates 130,000 gunpowder an hour. Though this farm is quite simple, it's so satisfying to watch the TNT rain. Like the motion down to the farm, like squishy, like what's happening currently. It's pretty loud though. The floor was one of the first custom art pieces that we have gotten on the server, and it's still one of my favorite art pieces. It's just really good and shows the creeper fully. Yeah, so this is the first art piece was made for a farm specifically. The walls were made by me, again, and I just think that the green walls and the TNT in the middle just gives a good contrast to the fiery red down below from an explosion. So one thing that we ran into on this farm was having a bat switch, basically a switch to stop all bat spawning. However, it's not really needed because the drops will only be about 10 to 15,000 less than the max speed of the farm, and this is just due to the mobs not being able to spawn in other mobs hitboxes. So if there's a bat in a location and a creeper tries to spawn on top of the bat, it'll cancel out. So bats flying around the spawning chamber can fail some of the creeper spawning attempts, but not a lot. This farm did not require any bedrock breaking, but it did require floating snow, one floating snow per little circle that you see or spawning area. So because it didn't require any bedrock to break, this took a lot faster than some of the other farms, and was completed in less than a week on the SMP. That includes all the deco and everything that you currently see. And there's a little Easter egg in the southwest corner. It's a happy creeper from one of the old April Fool's updates a while ago. It was the love update, and they switched it to happy creepers that used to give out love instead of exploding. So that's a little old Easter egg for you.
Alright, so next we have the Drowned Farm Perimeter. This actually is the first piston bolt for the top here. So the reason why we did it, because over on this side, over here, there is not any space to really go make another piston bolt here. As you can see, these slots are all completely filled up, and there is no longer any space to then go to where this portal is over there. So we had to kind of adapt, and then we made a second floor, which is perpendicular to the first one, which allows a bit more access to other areas that we currently really didn't ever explore before. And because these ones will go north and south, the other ones used to go east and west. So now we have different access to other ones here. And over here we have the Trident and Drowned Farm Bolt, which we will take over to that perimeter, which is of course yet another perimeter, because that's pretty much everything we do around here now. I think we have made perimeters in about 10 or 12 hours, which is pretty decent for only a couple people working on the area, but it is not obviously the fastest that a perimeter can be made, just for us, for not, going too hard with it. But yeah, so we have the Drowned Farm perimeter here. This is something that unfortunately has to be covered by slabs here. We could have made the full glass on the side here out of tinted glass, but we didn't have any amethyst and stuff at the time, which would be quite a lot of glass to do, so we fortunately didn't do that, so we can't do anything different with that. So we kind of had to do this huge slab roof here, which also doubles as a spawn-proofed area for the top part here, but it is something that is still pretty good with the warp slabs. Kind of fits into the prismarine theme and water theme and stuff like that. But yeah, so we have the Drowned Farm here, which is designed by Nicoler, and this is one of the best shaped rivers that I think even Nicoler has seen before, which is just perfectly U-shaped that they wanted as well, and then a little bit extra on the sides here. We kind of have another mini farm on the corner here of the perimeter, but this one here, pretty good for the area here, and it also was definitely very close to spawn. So this was actually generated in 1.16, so even this was pretty good for being that close to spawn. And yeah, so the pixel art here on the side, I actually made these custom pixel arts, and they definitely turned out quite well for the area. I'm very happy with the Nautilus shell. That one was the hardest one to do, and if we didn't have dripstone, I think it would be a lot harder to do that little bit of the accent on the edge here of the Nautilus shell there, and it looks very good when you're zoomed out. Even the copper ingot too, with that having the copper would be very difficult to do that. So yeah, this is really only made for the copper, but we fortunately don't use too much copper in this area anyway, but it is definitely nice to have. We also get a pretty good amount of Nautilus shells, and we get some tridents. I think we have three to four shulkers of tridents that we have gotten from the restaurant in the farm. Now we'll go to the nether side here, where we can see the processing part of this. We didn't make a full perimeter, mainly because the area we are is right next to the gold area, so there's literally right there. It'd be hard to kind of make a whole separate thing for that. So get down here, all you do is go in the back here, and there is a vine down here which will catch your fall. And then here, Dazi and I made this processing system. You can still see there's a couple of drowned there from the last time. They have items in their hands so they didn't despawn at all. Basically what happens is we use armor stand looting and push those items across, and then we only sort out the copper and the Nautilus shells, and this farm area gets turned on when you sit on the pressure plate, and then turns off once you step off of it. And then yeah, a little bit down further, you have the actual storage, which we have over a shulker box of just drowned heads running the farm. And then in the bottom, and these shulker boxes, we have all the different tridents, which we've gotten just by standing inside of the collection chamber while the farm was running. You can see we also have even the cod head as well, which is something that you actually we didn't plan to get, but you did get one of them right on the farm, or in a river-based biome. So if one of those go through the portal, it will come through the edge here, and then probably flop their way down into the looting chamber here. So we got a shulker box of Nautilus shells, and I think we had in total, just by testing the farm, about like 18 shulker boxes of copper ingots, which is really good. Now, these aren't the fastest rates possible, mainly because we didn't break any bedrock in that perimeter because I wanted to do the floor decoration. And then this spawn-in, relying on the natural spawn-in by the drowns here, isn't fast at all compared to the reinforcement ones that you can do now. But those reinforcement ones are very laggy on the server, and if we use this farm here, we do not need to worry about any of that stuff because natural spawning isn't really that laggy at all. But yeah, this is actually the first ever floor art that I had, or custom floor art that I had designed, and it turned out way better than I really would have thought for when I first had this idea of making the floor art for the perimeters kind of like theme around the mob that we wanted to sort of farm in that area, or for the other ones that we have before. But unfortunately, like I said, the slab roof kind of destroys the whole map view of the map art there, but you can get some angles where you can see the actual drowned that we had made there as well. And the pillars, the shape was made by Happy, but then I just kind of adapted it to get the little pattern and stuff like that in there, and then the change, and obviously the pixel art was all done by me as well, and still turned out really, really good for with the unfortunate of the slab roof. Some people have said we should make the decoration on top of the slab roof as well. We could do that. It's not really ideal to go do the whole decoration again. I think it's not terrible. It just ruins the map view mainly, which isn't too bad, but the actual in-game view isn't the worst. It could definitely be a lot worse than that. You can get some different angles where you can see the art as well. It's unfortunate that we have to have a mob switch off to run this farm, but I think that the lag for the farm being much less than the reinforcement based ones is definitely worth it, and still getting a little bit over a shulker box and a half of copper ingots per hour is definitely not bad at all. Alright, we're slowly dwindling down to the end, and we're also losing some members due to time zone differences. So there's only a couple of us still here, but we will continue on with the, I think 4 areas that we have left that have been completed after the 1-year world tour. So next we have the Magma farm perimeter. This was something that is kind of the worst perimeter to ever make because of the basalt delta biome. Because basalt and blackstone have a higher blast resistance and everything, unfortunately it is a bit harder to do, as well as all the lava lakes that are above as well, because not only do you have the single 1x1 lava pockets that you do get with regular nether terrain, you also get like these kind of like lava pools in the sky as well, which makes the tunnel bore a bit more difficult to do, especially for this area here. But this is actually one of the worst biomes, in my opinion, to make a perimeter in because of that basalt delta special features that they have. So yeah, this is also another one that's sort of under construction still. We are going to plan to break the full bedrock roof. We're kind of waiting for a new bedrock breaker to come out, but for the time being, we broke over the farm, and we can't really run the farm anymore. That is mainly because the we kind of didn't prepare for everything, how fast this area could actually make the magma cubes, and it actually, if we let it run for about 30 seconds, the server crashes with our current system that we have in the overworld for processing. Which the processing part we did use in the overworld worked with the bedrock roof above here. We did not anticipate it being that much faster, but breaking the bedrock roof, it drastically improves the rates for this farm here. And as you can see, there are no walls here yet. We should probably start on the walls soon at some point to get them close to a different Y height. So once we break the bedrock roof, we can just continue the walls all the way up. But we didn't really start these originally because they go above the bedrock roof, so we can't really do too much. But we can do something like go to like Y level 100 for the walls, and then stop, and then wait for the rest of the bedrock to be broken. So yeah, the farm is also another Y0 update suppressed portal. based farm, and this is because it's basically the easiest to do if you know how to do update suppression, and also extremely fast in terms of rates. So yeah, the only mobs that can spawn here are the magma cubes and gas, which is the reason why we need to have this glass here to stop it. You could improve it by putting end crystals here, but on a server setting where you don't really trust everybody, because some things, mistakes can happen, and then that would basically ruin the whole farm, which we don't want to do. So we opted for the slightly less rates with the glass here, which isn't too bad at all though. So yeah, the floor art here is also a magma cube floor art that I had. This is actually the one that's started the whole custom floor art entirely, because I saw this on Twitter, I do believe, and it was something that was really different to me, especially from the map view. It's really, really nice to see this, how it is, instead of having like a random floor pattern like we have for the Hogton perimeter and the skeleton perimeter. Now it does take a lot of time to build these, but it still looks exponentially better. Same with the barter one in gold. Still makes a lot of theming and stuff like that to the area, which I personally do enjoy. So currently I think Emmerich, one of our trial members, is working on a new overworld side for this area. So we'll head to that area now. Now, while we did not need a full perimeter for the overworld process inside, the decoration that I wanted to do for this area definitely doesn't look good on natural terrain, so making a perimeter just kind of made sense to me. And yeah, this castle was designed by Happy originally. I just kind of retextured it to fit the magma cube theme here that we have going on, and it definitely does fit that for sure. It was originally a like desert sort of castle that Happy made here, but retexturing it to fit the magma cube theme definitely adds a bit to it and fits it a bit better than anything desert would for this layout here. So yeah, this is the current overworld processing we have here, and currently doesn't work. It's a bit too really slow for the amount of magma cubes that we get coming through here, and the wither roses are just not fast enough to get rid of the magma cubes. So if we do once we make a new one, it'll be like TNT based. That way it's high damage and it'll get rid of the magma cubes as quick as possible, but at the cost of having to like redo this whole area in a sense, which was originally just a small box there. On the sides here we have two of my old 2x2 block crafters. Now these are for like these two slots here, not this slot, and then these two slots here. So to do this, you have to put two items in, and for our case it would be magma cream. You need to put a dummy item in here, and then two more items of the magma cream. Then take the dummy item out first, and then you can take out the crafted magma block at the edge there. This is done by the use of filters at the bottom, so it can only take out the dummy item and the magma blocks, nothing else. And then those magma blocks get transferred into this storage here, where they get compacted in a shulker box and then into this bottom chest here. Made a whole UI and everything here for this, and kind of made it look a bit menacing with the decoration on the outside. But yeah, so the challenge will be to make in a new system that can handle all the magma cubes in the area of the castle, because the castle was kind of like chosen because it like kind of like centralized the killing area in the center here. But yeah, currently it used to make not like barely faster than a portal spam on the roof because we had the bedrock roof still there, but with the new processing area we could achieve speeds faster than a magma cube farm. So we won't get the looting effect to it, because having to deal with 4 separate streams of TNT looting could be a pain to do. So I think this is just going to be regular TNT duping module, stuff like that. Makes it easier to wire up and easier to operate and stuff like that.
So this is our Ghast perimeter, and is very similar to our magma cube perimeter, which was just shown. For the most part, it is the same, other than the biome location and the suppressed portal layout. So for this one, the gas perimeter, we used the most efficient slice portal layout, which is every 3 or 2 blocks. I think it's every 2 blocks. Yeah, it's it's every other block. We have a sliced portal, but unlike this with the magma cube and slime one, it's going to be a checkerboard pattern, while this one's just every other. So again, this is the most efficient for gas spawning, just because their hitbox is a little bit larger and they don't vary in size, so it's more effective that way. So this was another perimeter with with the custom artist for the floor deco. This one turned out a little bit odd, just because of how the map art works of the different spacing in the blocks, but still, with the mini-map mod that most of us have on, it looks really good. These walls were designed by me, and if anybody's a builder and would like to help me out, applications are open, and I need some help. It just takes a while, and a lot of efforts put into these. So while the decoration is quite simple and not finished yet, it still adds a lot to this perimeter. Again, it's still under construction. By the wall stopped at Y100. But like the magma perimeter, we plan to break the full bedrock roof above it, just for aesthetic reasons. We already have it laid out for the actual spawning mechanism, but yeah. So the reason why we didn't have it fully up to, or the reason why we have the wall only up to Y100, is because when we break the rest of the bedrock, we don't want the deco to be blown up, which it has a chance of being blown up at Y100 or more. Okay, so this is the farm's overworld processing side. Again, very similar to the Ghast. Unfortunately, the castle that I designed here, the portal linking, we had some problems doing that, so it wasn't in the middle, and Ghast just kept escaping, so there was thousands of Ghasts everywhere and stuff like that. But the castle did turn out really good, and it's one of my favorite decorations. So we have this thing in the middle. This is our gas processing unit that Squishy had designed with Comedy's TNT looting setup. So basically, those 2 slice portals right there, the gas from the Nether come over to the side. The gas get downward accelerated by the slime block launchers to the side. So no matter what portal they come out, they still get pushed down. They will sit next to the TNT at the bottom. So where that water source is by the fence gates, the TNT gets fallen down there and then gets TNT looted by the gas, and then their drops get processed. So it has to land into the water because we do have TNT explosions on, and it would be messing up everything, and well, we don't want that to happen. A plus for this is, due to the fact that gas do produce gunpowder, and this is a TNT-based system, we can reuse the gunpowder, which is sorted down at the bottom, and then auto-crafted into TNT with some use of extra sand. But overall, we do make a profit of gunpowder, because 4 gunpowder is used to make TNT, and every single TNT that a gas kills, we get like 20 back or something like that. So there is a profit. And again, because there is a profit, that just justifies the system of having a good TNT looting system by Comedy. The only thing that we actually have to supply manually would be the sand to craft the TNT for the smart TNT crafter that we have somewhere on the back over here. But yeah. So one of our server members, Dazi, also created a super fast and compact and crystal crafter due to the gas tiers being part of the crafting recipe. So Dazi had an idea to include that, and him being the smartest person, him being a smart person, he, well, made his own crystal crafter. And, well, we showed it back here. So it's really nice to now be able to have crystals and almost a unlimited supply of them. So this castle was designed by me. There was a couple tweakings that we did, especially in the front back here, where these big bone pillars stick out. This was another, I believe this was a jungle theme that I originally had. Squishy retextured it for the gas thing. And I do think that this castle, oh, desert, okay. So this was originally a desert one that I built, and then Squishy just retextured it to fit the theme. And it did come out really good with the retexturing, with the soul soil pillars, and deep slate that we have going on. So yeah, I did detail the front to add just a little bit more texture, and and I had some heavy inspiration off of the vanilla bone structures that you would normally find in the Nether soul sand wastes, or I'm sorry, the soul soil biome, soul sand valleys. So I had heavy inspiration off of that. So these walls were Euler's automatic wall builders, and they helped, and with help from Item Shadow, we were able to place all 4 walls, which is over 100,000 blocks, in just a little bit over an hour. Elu's 4 game tick wall builder places a block every 4 game ticks, or about one of the best things for mass building. And like Squishy said, these things are still in the corner, and they are 5 blocks per second. So really good wall builders. Please, go make sure to check them out, because these things are insane. There's a time lapse on Squishy's channel when we did these over the video with the gas perimeter, and what we're showing right now. So go check that out, because it's insane to see how fast these walls get placed. And this is 256 by 256 perimeter by, what was it? By about 128 tall. 125 tall. So massive amount of blocks put into it in a really short amount of time. So again, go to Squishy's channel, the gas perimeter, to see the wall placement on that.
Alright, next we have our first ever Mesa Quarry on the server. Actually, our first quarry ever on the server, if you don't count the old ancient debris one. But this one was something that we have originally. We have server member Italia on our server here, or I usually call him as at. So yeah, they are the original creator of the quarry that we used here, and they modified the quarry to fit our Mesa terrain specifically, with some minor like height modifications and stuff like that, so that we could not have to worry about clearing out some top area to fit the quarry in, which was really nice. And this is a 256 block long quarry that ran for close to 1,000 blocks. A little bit short. We had some issues at the end, but that's kind of expected when it's sort of like a beta test of the quarry to see if it works and anything like that. So it did work for the majority of the time. There were some minor issues that needed to be fixed, but they should be fixed in the final release for the video there. So yeah, there was, like I said, 1,000 blocks long here, and the roof we put on the quarry, there is a new quarry tech where you only need 1 block for a roof, but personally I like to have the decoration on top here, so I used my new double S for the first one, and we'll probably do something different for the other one that we plan to do, because our Mesa here has another space to fit like a really another 256 block long quarry that can go actually even further than the first one originally, probably like close to 1,500 blocks or so for that next one. So we get about 1.5 times the amount of items we got for this one here. So as you see, there's a little bit more area we could go, but most of it's all water, so there's really no point. And that's what's going. That was giving us some issues with here because our shield wasn't the best at all. But yeah, Fred kind of, you can see that the resolution of the image here isn't, because the roof isn't 128 blocks long. We kind of had to like squish the S down a little bit, and I would say it's 256 blocks long in that direction. So it kind of had to get kind of distorted a little bit, but I think Fred, like Fred always does, made an awesome job of the adaptation of the any art thing that we have, because Fred is very efficient in Photoshop and can do a lot of things. And even before Fred was on the server, Fred was making stuff for me. Even if you go look at my YouTube banner there, which is still the same since I've ever received it from Fred, that was the first thing Fred's ever done for me, and it's still going to stay at my YouTube banner forever, basically, because that is something that you cannot take away from you. Getting a fan art by someone is one of the best feelings as a content creator that you can have. But yeah, so thank Fred enough, but Fred is amazing, and Fred knows that. So yeah, this storage here, I kind of just threw a bunch of 2x loaders here. I personally don't like throwing everything into mix box sorters to then sort it out at the end. To me, it doesn't really make sense. But I can see how some people do it. I personally just want to keep everything that we get. The main thing is really made of Mesa Quarry 4 is all the terracotta and a little bit of the dirt and other ores like that. So yeah, this ran for, like I said, a little bit under 1,000 blocks, and we got quite a bit of terracotta. There is in the quarry video, I do the exact amounts and stuff like that. We also get a good amount of dirt, which is also pretty good, because the only way to get dirt really is to mine it out manually, and a quarry does the same thing. And a good bit on a coal, actually, over 100,000 coal, which is good. And then we see all the new raw gold, raw iron, raw copper, and we also did actually get a shulker, or 2 shulker boxes of calcite and a shulker box of amethyst, which has since been taken back to main storage. Because there was a lot of geodes in this area, as you can see, even on the outside. There's a bunch of them that kind of got like cut off and stuff like that. But yeah, unfortunately for most quarries, you don't get any diamonds because you need to stay above the lava lakes. But like you can see here, there's a bunch that are kind of exposed, which you could go around and collect if you really wanted to. Personally, there's really no need to do that because diamonds don't really give you anything now in this stage of the game. But yeah. So that is that. Quarry speed, if you're interested in that, is about 10 minutes per slice, depending on the height. So if your mesa is a bit taller, let's say like 118, your time for the slice would definitely be a lot more because of the height map changes and things like that. So the quarry heights are going to be drastically changed, and which is going to be cool to see some new quarry tech that makes the quarry operate faster at any height. But yeah, huge thanks to At for making us this adaptation of their quarry to fit our server, and having them on the server is definitely a huge help for anything slimestone related. And the same with Emrix with the TNT knowledge. We plan to do a TNT cannon very soon as well to go to a far location, and that would be quite interesting to do because this is the first quarry I ever made before, and that'll be the first TNT cannon that I ever made before, which would be fun to have on the server and experience with that, and having someone that's like kind of like an expert in that area is very, very helpful for that kind of stuff. So yeah, this water stream here is what took the items to the storage, and I'll just have it at the end there, and then everything goes for silver, goes full circle. So we can't really use this area for too much because it's not a full perimeter, but as you saw at the start there was a map art which we have pretty much planned for this area. You basically see that for any mesa area because, like I said, it's on a full perimeter. There's still a bunch of blocks below, so you can't really use it for anything mob farm related and things like that. So I think eventually we'll fill this area up, and if you this one here is Rim, so remember here their profile picture. If you do want to get your own custom one here, if you do want to go to my stream, and there is a reward for this, like a channel point redemption, and then we basically map out an area, so 128 by 128, and then we build that map art, which will then add to this whole area, and we hope to eventually fill this completely up. and then we can put some like decoration of like walls around it to kind of like make it all themed together. But like, of course, like I said, I'm going to expand the quarry to go a little bit further out this way, and then we can add even more space to this and continue to add more map arts in this area at some point. That's all down to you guys redeeming them in the Twitch channel.
Okay, so this is our Toothless Dragon render distance perimeter. One of the most unnecessary perimeters I think anybody will ever build, just because it is the full 512 by 512 perimeter. So, if you're on the Discord or Squishy stream a lot, you will typically see his beloved favorite Disney character, favorite Disney character, Toothless. This became Squishy's favorite Disney character growing up. This is also from How to Train Your Dragons, the Disney movie. So for about a month now, or a couple weeks ago, I have recently got a beloved blue axolotl, one of the rarest mobs to actually get. You can only get it from breeding. You can only get it from breeding two axolotls together, and that has a 1 in 12,000 chance. So this is Toothless, my, I guess, our as a server most beloved single thing. He is a blue axolotl that I retextured into making him more like Toothless. So blue axolotls were an addition in 1.17, but they changed it to 1.17.1. You have to manually breed them, so it took 2 buckets of tropical fish in order to make 1 baby axolotl. I have bred on the scoreboard. You can see it. 1,652 axolotls in order to get this one guy. So a lot of time and effort was put into him, so why not make an entire 512 by 512 render distance perimeter dedicating to him and his girlfriend, Leary. Light Fury. You got a Light Fury and a Night Fury. So these two are part of the Disney franchise of How to Train a Dragon. But yeah, so if you look on the map, the Light Fury, the white one, is on the right, and the darker one, or Toothless, is on the left. So this picture was originally taken from just a fan art, but not really a fan art, it was an artwork of those two dragons that Fred fixed up a little bit, just made it look a lot better, removed a couple things. So the map art that you see is 512 by 512 blocks wide. It is 2 layers. One layer is the actual artwork, and then the second layer is just a layer of glass by a floor placer. So this artwork was just an original fan art of those two dragons with a couple things in the middle. But Fred, being the absolute god that he is at Photoshop and just crazy tech stuff with photo edit and his amazing photo editing skills, he just cleaned it up, made it just look so much better. It's just so good. It just looks so good. Fred does a lot of stuff on the server for photo editing. He made Squishy's YouTube banner. He made a couple emojis. He made some emojis. He made the hearts. Just absolutely insane with the skills that he possesses. So, such a good guy to have on the server. And he bumped up the quality like insane amount, like Squishy said, in order to have a big perimeter. So originally this perimeter was just going to be just a little dedication to these axolotls that I kind of got, and I may or may not have spent a month of my life getting. A blue axolotl, totally did not spend a month getting that, but we will be using this as a memorial for both Toothless and Leary from the 3rd movie of How to Train Your Dragon. And it's going to have a bat farm in the middle, just to give the perimeter an actual functionality, so it's not completely useless. But it's going to be a bat farm with a bat switch, because bats are super annoying mob. Even though they can't damage you, it's just an annoying thing to have.
Alright, so that's pretty much everything that we have completely finished in the 6 months after the 1 year world tour. Like I said, hopefully we get this bat area done. We still have some other things that are still in the process of being made, but definitely want to show something off that was like kind of half done. I only really showed this one off because it's kind of like a huge thing that we've worked on and still plan to work on, and a huge thing that has a lot of effort and gone into, especially for getting the Toothless and Leary, both axolotls. This one's only a retextured yellow one, so it's not too hard to get, but getting the blue one, definitely, like I said, took a lot of time to do. And yeah, we have a lot of things hopefully to do in the 2 year world tour, so hopefully we can show all that stuff off in October, which is the anniversary for the actual world here. But yeah, there has been a lot of obviously new members and things like that have been added to the server, trial members, things like that, that we still plan to add more to, whether it's more redstone people, whether it's just more builders. We are crucial looking for more builders, ideally to help Happy out a little bit with the decorations and stuff, but we're always still open to other people that apply. So if you do want to join the Discord, go to the server application channel and fill one of those out. And you never know, you could get accepted. We never know. But yeah, fortunately we didn't show off a lot of the farms running, mainly because they do take a lot of time to go turn off the mob switch and things like that. And time of recording, we're already over 2 hours. So if we did that, it'd probably be over 3 hours to go run every farm. But if you do want to see the farms run, I suggest you go to that video on my channel where about that whole perimeter stuff, and then you could see each farm run individually, because I always show the farm running in the end there. And the Ghast one's probably the most satisfying one to watch, in my recommendation for the farms that have been completed in this 6 months here. So yeah, massive shout out to all the people that helped out any which way. If you're on the server now, currently it's a trial, remember, not on the server anymore. Definitely still appreciate you guys making the server a better place, and all the people that actually came here for the world tour, and people that did talk during the world tour, giving me a little bit of a break besides talking the whole time. And yeah, so actually all you guys watching, thank you for making AutoCraft what it has been so far, and I can't wait to get to that 2 year mark and show off what we get done there. So make sure you like, subscribe, all sorts of things, and I will see you in the next one.